Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Welcome back. So today's stream I'm going to draw on the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil inside of Procreate. So it's a little bit different setup. I don't think we've done a live stream like this yet. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully well. Alright. So yeah, I figure I'll draw some faces since we did some really bad poses yesterday, but we did some poses. So now we'll work on some face designs. It's always good to kind of bounce back and forth. So I'll wait for some people to jump in here. It's a little bit early of a stream today, so I'm not sure how many people will be able to chime on in, but we shall see. So first define the overall shapes of the face, kind of get some placement going. Figure out an expression. Hey, what's up, Keeman? Glad to have you. Appreciate you stopping by. Sean, good to have you. Okay, we got a few people. Cool, cool. One person says they can't hear me because they're at work, so I got the volume down. Gotta love being able to watch watch live streams at work. At least you get part of it. I mean, it's an art live stream, so you'll still get a good part of it. So yeah, let me know if you guys got any questions about what I'm doing here, and I'll just keep sketching out some faces. I'll try to get some variation in style. That's what I've been trying to do lately, anyways, is really vary up the way that I draw a couple of these faces, because it's so easy to, you know, pump out the same face over and over again. So the same style of face, I should say. And to tell a good story, we gotta have lots of variety in there, lots of different faces and expressions. And I want to get you guys' feedback. I'm thinking about doing a comparison video on the iPad Pro versus the Wacom Cintiq. It's not going to be a true comparison because they're kind of different playing fields, really, in a lot of ways. So it'll be a bit of a comparison, but also a bit of how you would use each device respectively, I guess. And you know, I know they've got that new Wacom Studio Pro, but I won't be able to review that. So I don't plan on getting one, but they just seem a bit too costly right at the moment. But who knows? Maybe down the road or whatever. If I ever hit the proverbial fat cash on the YouTube street here. And Ava, I think I'm saying it right, Ava, did you buy the early access for the perspective guidelines? So I assume you're talking about this program here, this app. And yes, I do have the perspective guides in here. Oh yeah, Steven, I'm not actually demoing Procreate's new streaming feature. So I wish I would have known about that. I'm actually doing this through QuickTime and using the streaming screen grab from YouTube. So this isn't actually being streamed per se from Procreate. But yeah, good to know. I'll have to test that out. I wasn't aware of that. See, I love this community. You guys teach me as much, if not more, than I teach you. Already learned a couple new things in this session. Yeah, J.S. Ward says, man, I want a new Wacom mobile studio, but they're $3,000. Crazy. Yeah, most of the things that I usually spend $3,000 for will generally have wheels and a stereo system in them and be able to get me from A to B. But you know, it's a high-end tool. You know, it's very. I'm not saying you wouldn't make your money back. You would, you know, as long as you're using it professionally. I don't think it's a toy by any means, or not a toy, but you know, somebody that's not really doing professional grade work. I can't see really forking out the dough unless you're doing that. But I think that it needs to be a bit more comparable. I'll tell you my big problem, you know, I'm sure it's a fantastic device and I can't wait to demo one at some point, but it doesn't have USBs. I couldn't believe that when I heard that. It's like, man, you don't got a USB on that thing? It's like, to me, that's why you would have a Windows or a system that would take the place of a full desktop in a sense or whatever, because that's built more as a professional unit where, you know, maybe the iPad Pro, they don't really per se call it a desktop killer, you know, in a sense, but in a lot of ways it can be. It's not going to fully replace, like, to me, my iPad Pro doesn't fully replace my Cintiq. It's a beautiful add-on because it gives me portability and ease of use, and I feel like my sketching feels a lot more natural on it, things like that. So I don't look at it as a replacement as much as I look at it as a heck of a nice add-on. And the price point's still okay for it to be considered that way because, you know, I know a lot of people think, well, God, if you already spent a few thousand on a setup in a Wacom Cintiq, spending another $1,000 on an iPad Pro seems frivolous almost. But it really doesn't, because in one sense, you're able to maximize your abilities and, again, be portable and versatile and all those things, and maybe even enhance workflow productivity, which I totally feel. And then also, you got to think in the regards that these are devices, so the less time you spend on one device equivalates to the longevity of the other. So it's kind of a, you know, you're washing it a bit, you know, so you're going to save in that regard. The one device is going to last longer. You're probably going to get a little bit better resale, you know, things like that, if that's even part of the equation for you. Yeah, the perspective guidelines are fantastic in this program, and I can demo them if you guys need, but they're amazing. They work really well. I use them all the time now. I actually do most of my scene creation perspectively, definitely starts right here. I do finish it in Manga Studio, Clip Studio Paint, where the perspective tools are even more detailed and enhanced. But yeah, so they're done really well. They're functional. What I like most about the perspective tools on this one is they actually feel like they. Oh goodness! All right, should have disabled my comments there. Hopefully, I don't get any bad comments while I'm illustrating here. I didn't realize I did that. All right, you guys that saw it, don't start commenting because you know it's going to pop up, all right? Goodness, gotta love live streaming. All right, watching while working at home, Julio says. Cool, good to have you, Julio. Hi, Robert, always fun to see your art while working in my office. Cool, I appreciate that. Comes from 2B. Oh man, Marzullo, it must be early that side. Yeah, it's pretty early. It's about, well, early for me, I guess. What time is it over here? It's like 11:30. It's still early in my world. Somewhat. Lost my train of thought here. What was I talking about? Yeah, but one of the things about this this setup that I enjoy so much is the feel of the drawing experience. So even though that mobile studio is probably just amazing, and I'm sure that's why it's priced so high and all that, and you can run full software apps and things like, you know, programs like ZBrush and all that. The one thing I still don't think it's going to have on this, and I could be wrong, is just the feel of the responsiveness and the brush and the size of the brush, the way it's weighted in your hand. They just killed it with this one. It's really well done. And I know there's a thing called Parallax that everybody talks about, and that doesn't exist on this one as far as I'm aware. Like that difference from the thickness of the screen. And for instance, like if you're to get really close to this device while you're drawing, you can see that the brush is right where you're making the mark, or the from the pen tip or the pencil tip to the mark is right on point. So things like that just again lend themselves to feeling like you're creating very naturally. And then again, Procreate's done a fantastic job with the thick to thin ratio of the brushes and the way the brushes are responsive and all that. Ultimately, haven't had to adjust it a whole lot. I have modified the brushes a bit to get them just the way that I like. And by the way, you can get those on my Gumroad. Um, that's my Ram Studio Comics Gumroad, by the way, but there'll be a link in the description box below. But pretty much out of the gate, they're just functional. You don't really have to do a whole lot. I always end up tweaking stuff as I work. But yeah, they're done really well. I'm gonna give this guy some pretty big bushy eyebrows. So this is like kind of a mix between a caricature and a comic style. To be says, question Rob, do you see the iPad Pro and Procreate a nice and strong feature? Yeah, I mean, I love using it. I think it's the best component of my drawings now, as far as creating my sketches. And yeah, I'm definitely happy with it. I was on the fence when I bought it, and I was kind of skeptical and a little bit scared because it's $1,000, but $1,000 is $1,000. It's quite a chunk of change or whatever. So I'm thinking, man, if I don't like this thing, and I'm gonna start kicking myself or whatever. And immediately that didn't happen. I got it, and I was pleasantly surprised because I wasn't able to demo it in store like I wanted to. They didn't have them at the Mac store I went to, or whatever, Apple store. Um, but then I just kept reading the reviews, and people kept talking really highly about it. And the drawbacks that people discussed, it's not a full desktop type system. You can't do this, you can't do that. For all the negatives that people were talking about, it didn't apply to what I was really looking for. And what I was really looking for was portability and ease of drawing. I'll tell you, even at first, I didn't think I would really be able to paint on this as well. I guess I assumed I would be, but I wasn't too worried about it. But now, I feel like the painting's even on par, if not better. I've done a couple paintings on here. I don't know if you guys saw the Venom one I did not too long ago. I'm not trying to plug my work here, but oh well, it's my channel. I guess I will. But I just did one of Venom. I did one of Diablo 3. Those were all predominantly done on just this device. And I wouldn't say they're my best paintings. There's probably a few little noticeable flaws that could have been done better on my desktop, but they were in that realm. They were doable. They were acceptable or whatever. And for the short amount of time I've been on this device, I would say that's a win, and you just gotta keep going from there. And plus, you can see some just amazing work that's been done on these things. There's been some amazing work done on just the regular iPad that people have bridged the gap, and they did that without all these extra features in the Apple Pencil and a regular stylus. So it's all about the artist and what you really dedicate to the device and refining it. Oh, cool. Ava's got the technical pencil. That's cool. Glad you grabbed that one. Insanity is sanity. I love the name there. Hey man, you using the Procreate new stream feature? Can't get it to work. Do I need to get another app? No, I'm not. I'm actually using QuickTime along with YouTube's live stream to record the screen and OBS to facilitate the live stream. So no, I'm not actually using the new feature inside of Procreate for that. So I wasn't even aware of that until somebody else mentioned it, and now you've reiterated it. Yeah, and then Tink Twice Man, also a good name. The problem with the Cintiq Companion, or at least compared to the iPad Pro, is it's super heavy, feels like a brick in my backpack. I love both. The mobile studio weighs around the same. Yeah, so, I heard a lot of negatives about the Cintiq Companion too, and that was the one I was on the fence with when I got this, and I was getting ready to get it, and I kept hearing the stuff about the fan noise, about the short battery life, and I'm a huge fan of Wacom devices, but I just couldn't bring myself to get it with those things involved. So I ran the risk and I jumped on this one, and I've been pleasantly surprised. But I also haven't been able to really effectively compare it. I've never used that particular device in person. Like I was even able to say, to heck with the fan noise. I could plug in some headphones, except I do record, so that would become an issue. But I was able to look past that. It was ultimately the battery life that kept weighing in on me, because I wanted true portability. And then I got people saying, well, you can't get 8 hours on that iPad Pro. I'm like, baloney, because I've done it a bunch of times. I've drawn this thing nonstop. But I don't know if you guys can tell. No, I guess you couldn't, because it's being projected to my other screen. But I actually I toned down the brightness on the screen. There's times I'll bump it up just for the sake of having that on there when I need it. But I don't leave it up, so it gives me an extended battery life. So I truly recommend that if you're using this device. If you're getting a shorter battery life, it's probably because you have that brightness cranked way too high, and it's not always needed. Really, it's only needed if you're in an overly bright area, like outdoors. Then you would need to crank it up to see it. But yeah, as far as longevity, it goes 8-10 hours, and that's a big deal to me. Like if you're traveling and things like that, on a plane, wherever, you want to know that you don't got to plug this thing in. What else? The other thing, the Apple Pencil. It charges really well, and then it's got that feature where if you run out of charge, you can plug it in for what is it, like 30 seconds, and you get 30 minutes, or 15 seconds, and you get 30 minutes of usage. That's just awesome. That tells you it's just built really well when it can do things like that, I think. But Apple's known for that. They've revolutionized products more than once now. So yeah, the battery life, after Max saying that, battery life it's fantastic on this. Um, DCS Play, it says, I use a Canvas Light 6.4 looking to getting a Wacom, or Wacom I should say. Okay, yeah, I haven't used that device. Sure, it's great. I mean, there's lots of great devices on the market, and again, it does just boil down to how much you use that particular device. I've seen people take Intuos 3 tablets and create amazing, exceptional works of art. So it really just depends on the artist, and how much time you spend on it, and what you're willing to dedicate, and all that stuff. So it's not the device, it's the artist. I always want to stress that, because I know some people look at it and go, well, I can't afford that particular tablet. I would say don't wait to afford that tablet. I mean, always draw traditionally as well, but just go ahead and jump in on something, whether it be like the Intuos, the Pro Series, the Bamboo, whatever. Get something that you can afford, even used, and get working on it, and then go from there. I started with an Intuos 3, and I was able to do some pretty neat stuff. I mean, now I could do better on it, knowing what I know now. At the time, I wasn't using it right, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I still made sure to create art, keep learning. Then I upgraded from there. Yeah, somebody's comment about that no USB drive thing. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed when I heard that, because it's like, I got a lot of USB devices, and I'm sure you could just buy a different connector, but then you're spending extra money, which on a device that's that expensive, that thing should have everything, including the kitchen sink. So that was just one of those small kind of pet peeve things. I know it's not that great of a deal, because they always do that with you, to you with technology, where they force you into an upgrade of the new technology and that kind of thing. But I just thought, man, for that type of device and the portability aspect, USB is pretty important right now. And then to not at least make it backwards compatible seemed like a kind of a, a bad decision. Just put it that way. I know smarter people than me are the ones that's making that stuff, but I'm just saying from a user standpoint, that seemed pretty silly. Okay, let me focus on this. I'm going to quit reading the comments for a minute so I can focus on the art, because I've always noticed if I get too in the habit of reading the comments, my art starts taking a dive. I guess I'm not really good at the multitasking. Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be getting one of those to demo it. Sucks kind of because I'd love to demo it for you guys, but yeah, the price point's just too high, and I'm pretty satisfied with this one, so I'll just keep going in this direction. But there's lots of great demos already being done on it, so a lot of people will be able to figure it out on that regard. And I do want to make sure, I just want to reiterate that I'm not knocking Wacom devices because I use them daily. They're exceptional, and I'm sure that machine's exceptional as well. So we're just, doing an honest kind of opinionated kind of thing, but I don't want people to think that I'm bashing their products, because I love their products. Use them, use my Cintiq daily, so it would be unfair to say that I think that this machine is going to be a horrible thing. I don't think it is. I think it'll just be, I think it's definitely for the elite illustrators. When you're talking 3Gs, it's, like I said before, you better be making money off that thing. Yeah, and that's the main thing with that those Intuos or the bamboos, that you will overcome the hand-eye coordination. And one of the greatest things about those, I think, that I've kind of talked about it before, but I know some people have mentioned it as well, is really the ergonomics of it. So even right now, even though this is very natural because this tablet is smaller, I've got it set on my table and I'm kind of hunched over it a little bit, drawing like I would draw on a sketch pad, which is great. But one of the neat things about getting better with the regular tablets, or the, I call them lap tablets, but you're supposed to set them on the table in front of you apparently, but I always set them on my lap and I lean back in my chair. So I'm talking like the Intuos, the bamboo styles, things like that. And it's amazing for ergonomics because you can really posture a lot of different ways, just like you can with this one because it's smaller, so you can hold it like a sketch pad. I've even drawn on this standing up, which is nice. Just for a break in the monotony of the day and sitting in one single posture. But the bad thing is with the Cintiq is you have a lot less, or at least my Cintiq, in the way that it's set up, you have a lot less posturing abilities. So that wears on you throughout the day. If you've ever drawn, a 14-hour day or whatever, sometimes longer when a deadline is right in front of you, you'll get sore. It hurts. It's not like everybody thinks like. I love how people always think, because you're an artist, you just sit around and draw pretty pictures, and it's like this easy job, and it's really not the case. I mean, I've had times where I had to stay up 2 days in a row. I've had to draw, and take breaks for coffee and food. It's like, people need to see that part of it before they go, oh, drawing's easy. And it's like, yeah, until you get all the back pains from laboring over work for flipping hours and hours, But whatever, we get to draw pretty pictures, so, we got the life, right? We got it made. And all that fat cash that follows, so we're good. We're rolling in the dough. For show. For show. Sorry, just saw Superbad again for like the 20th time. Love that part where he's saying for show. For show. Alright, I should probably give this dude some hair, right? I haven't really quite figured out the hairdo I want to give him. Looks like a military cut. All right, let's read this one. Aftermath says, I've always had a hard time getting facial features right, drawing noses and nostrils at different angles, how large to draw the mouth for different expressions, drawing teeth, and when to draw them. Yeah, some tricks for that. I mean, if you notice with the nose there, let me zoom in so you can see it a little better. It's still in the rough stage, but if you noticed, I did that box version. I got a video about this where I talk about, simplifying the shapes of the face and doing this kind of deal. You can get as many of these planar angles as you want. You've got the septum that comes down through the middle, but as an angle, so you're going to do a rounded bend right there. You do the little commas or whatever for the nostrils, which really they're not commas, but from this angle they'll kind of look like commas. And you just throw those in there and make sure that one kind of hits the septum from this angle, and then throw in the nostrils. So that's how I do it, and you put like a bump for the nose and give it character and things like that. But there's lots of ways apparently, obviously to do that, but that's one of the easier ways for an upshot to a nose, and then soft erase it back, come through and refine it a bit. So the bulbous part of the nose sits up here. That's always the trickiest part for me to get right. And then, figuring out where the placement of the nostril and the other nostril comes around the side. That's actually, I've got this nostril too high up. And then I guess the other way is like this. You would draw the planar part at the bottom of the nose, and then just have that cut right through, and that'll tell you where the other side of the nostril should be, approximately. So you see I got that nostril up too high right there. Anyways, so much for my poor attempt right there. But that's how I do it. I just predefine the shapes a little bit. And as far as the teeth, I always err on the side of less is more with the teeth. So like if you're doing the smile or something, let me try it over here real quick. I'll say this is the smile. Here's the teeth. So I'll do like the shape of the teeth. I always do the little darkness on the side, like you see the mouth opening right there. And I remember watching a Todd McFarlane video, and he said something about you're either a top teeth smiler or a bottom teeth. You're not both, or something like that. So don't draw the line right through the middle. And that always stuck with me. So I just basically, draw a little bit of the bottom of the teeth, but not much, if any. And then I'll just draw the way the gums kind of react to it. So I'll do that, and then I'll do a little bit of the break in the teeth, because they're obviously not straight across like this. So you do like a little bit of the separations there, and then always make sure to draw the front two a little bit taller than the rest if you want it to look more natural. And yeah, just do the separations of the gums, so you're kind of just hinting to it. You're kind of just drawing a little bit of the shadows in there. And then if it's a male, you'll do a little bit less of or a lot less of the traced out top lip. Some people just omit it altogether, and then just the shadowing of the bottom lip kind of. So, that's the short expression of how to do it. I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into just drawing that, but that's kind of the quick way to do a mouth or whatever. Then you can shade from the sides like this. You'll see that a lot in comics. We'll just add a few lines just to the side to make this part look closer and more in light. So hopefully that helps. Nice. Just reading some of these comments here. Yeah, Mark expressing how he's got problems with where to place the nostrils too. Same problem. And then DCS has a pretty funny comment there. People just scrolling past millions of people scrolling past our images without the full realization of what went into them. Yeah, for sure. What I always think about is like if I'm spending 8 to 10 hours on a rendition, trying to make it something cool and hoping that everybody will think it's, the next best thing since sliced bread or whatever. And I'm sitting there, trying to draw this out. And then I'm like, man, somebody's just going to look at it for about 3 seconds and then, yeah, nay, yay or nay, and then they're going to roll the other way. And it's like, it just makes me think like, man, sometimes it's like almost depressing to think of it like that. I'm putting hours and hours into this, and then somebody might just pass by and go, it's all right, and then they just click onto something else. But that's one aspect of it, and the other aspect of it is when somebody looks at it and they they're nice enough to leave a comment and say, wow, this really inspired me, or this made me look at how to draw this differently. And so there's the pros and cons, and there's all that stuff, so you can't really get too caught up in it. But yeah, I always think that, I guess I think that way more about comics. Like, if you're putting 8 to 10 hours per page and then people are flipping through it, because I've done this, and I've done this with books that are really well done, art and story wise, and I'll read through it really quickly, and I'm flipping through those pages, and then I go back and think, man, these guys dedicated a huge amount of time to each one of these pages, and I'm just thumbing through them as some quick eye candy kind of thing, reading it as well, I guess. But yeah, so it's just crazy when you think about it in that regard. I guess it's best not to really dwell on that. I think I got the hairline up too high. And then, the thing for this, oh, come on. Yeah, I really should have disabled that. Okay, so that's one of the negatives of the iPad Pro. You got to disable things like pop-ups right there. Which really, that's not a negative to the device. It's just something I forgot to do. Okay, so yeah, so one of the things for placing the hairline, if you guys don't already know this, is you could basically take the eyes to the top of the head and chop that into thirds. And generally, it's right about that top 1/3 right there. We also got to, do that prospectively as well. All right, let's read these comments real quick. I always spend more time looking at the art than reading. It takes me forever to read my favorite artist comics. Yeah, I'm guilty of that as well. I think that's something as artists that we tend to do more. We're studying the dynamics of the art so much that we'll let the story sometimes take the back burner. I'm not saying every artist does that, but I know I'm guilty of that as well. I've bought a lot of comics mainly just because of the art. That's the part that was resonating with me the most. And then some I'm compelled by the story and the art, but and then somebody's saying, do you prefer solo ink, black and white, versus full color? I'm more of a pen and ink kind of guy, or a sketch, pencil kind of guy, whatever. I like digital painting. Obviously, I teach it on the channel here, and I do course content on it and all that stuff. So I enjoy it. But if I had to pick one, if I only did one, it would be just the drawing, and inking, because I still feel like I need to ink my work to add that extra level to it. There's sometimes I'll just leave a sketch as a sketch, but there's other times when I think it needs that finished work to really bring it out in full detail. But yeah, I'm pretty much just, my favorite is just sketching and creating the line work. And I don't know why that is. Like, I know some people can just do some quick expressive lines and be happy with that. And I always feel like I want to keep detailing the work more and more and get not to a realism level or anything like that. So I don't think I have much of a feel for realism as much as I just like to really detail the work and bring it out. So I think that's what made 90s comics such a big deal for me, because, or maybe that's where I picked it all up from, because that seemed to be like what was really popular then and what people were really doing. They were really hyper illustrating this dynamic stuff and bringing it to another level of imaginative, creation. And I think I could see most of that in the line work. And obviously, the color was a big part too, because they had those, that was like right when they started doing all the dynamic computer colorization that wasn't really being done a few years prior to that in comics. So that was kind of a neat transition as well. So it was like all those things kind of came together, and they just did this amazing to me, this amazing change in comics. You know, I see some people and they actually knock it. They'll always talk bad about the 90s comic stuff, which I think is strange, but I guess not everybody thought it was the greatest era of comics, but I definitely did, or do. Alright, let me try to adjust these features. I think I got them too high up on the face. A little bit of cheating there. Is there a reason that you do a light erase rather than turn down the opacity and add new layer? Really, I just do that because it feels a little more like I'm working traditionally, like if I had a kneaded eraser, because that's what I use when I work traditionally. I use a kneaded eraser, and I use a couple different pencils with different softness of lead or whatever. So I guess I do it because it feels really traditional, and that's one of my biggest takeaways with this particular setup, is that I can get such a traditional feel. So I guess I just go with it for that reason. Now I will do, when I go to ink, I will turn it to a blue line. And if you guys don't know, this is a really quick way to blue line something. You simply just change the color of whatever you're using, like this. Lock the layer like this, click it one time, and hit fill. And it'll automatically blue line whatever you're working on. So just keep that in mind. So I do that for when I get ready to ink whatever I'm working on. But other than that, I just use the soft erase to kind of keep, I like the feel of how it just pushes those lines back, and I can also control it a little bit more, because when I'm soft erasing, I can erase back certain things more. So if I want to keep certain aspects of the art, and then I can, you know, I can control that a little bit more with a soft erase anyways. As to where with the dropping the layer opacity, you're going to drop everything, you know, in a uniform way. Somebody wrote Image Comics. Yep, for sure. It was a big inspiration for me as well. Is the audio quiet for anyone else? Yeah, I don't get that, man. I really don't. I've got the mic right up to my face. I got the gain turned up. I notice if I've turned the gain up anymore on this mic, it distorts. So I don't get that. I get that occasionally from people. I got to figure out my audio still. Is anybody else having problems with the audio? And it went silent. Audio check. 1 2 1 2. God, hopefully it didn't just go out. Yeah, but I guess yeah, they're saying so. Some people the audio is good, so try your setup. But I do know that in relationship to some videos, mine are more quiet. So I gotta get that figured out some way. And I got a pretty good mic. I got a Blue Yeti hooked to a boom arm with a shock absorber type deal. Yeah, Aftermath, that's how I did them before too. So he's saying that I use a layer set to blue fill and screen mode. Okay, so you got your audio figured out, sweet. You've had the stream freeze up a couple times, huh? Come on. It's one of the reasons I got away from Twitch and came back here to YouTube, because the Twitch streams kept locking up on me, and I was just getting annoyed with it. Plus I had to like take the video, re-upload it to YouTube, which was a pain, or I had so much time to transfer it, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to go back to YouTube with the live streams. So we'll see how it goes, but I think this one's better. At least for me anyways. Sorry to be selfish, you guys, but I only got so much time in the day to really be doing this stuff, so I gotta maximize it. Maximize my efforts. I always get these up shots, like looking weird, like his eye is set too far back over here. So then I'll try to do like a little cheat where I grab the face, just kind of move it over a little bit. And the ear looks too cramped back here, so I'll grab this, move it over a little bit. Constantly doing this with my work. Is it cheating? Probably so. Do I care? Probably not. Oh, thanks, Comic Geek. I feel like I just insulted you, Comic Geek. No, but thanks very much. Wrote my art's an inspiration. That's always nice to hear. You're just saying that. You're fibbing. Alright, so give him some bigger eyebrows. I love comics where you can really intensify the eyebrows. And it's cool to give him goatees now, right? Let's give him a goatee. He almost looks a little bit like Doctor Strange. You know, excuse me, I gotta do a fan art piece. I think what I'm gonna do is watch the movie, because I still haven't seen it, but I heard all good things. I'm gonna watch that movie and then do a fan art, because there was a time when that was like one of my favorite characters. It was a short little. You guys ever have those moments where you like went to a different character and started digging that character, but then you quickly segued to your what became your favorite character? That was one of Doctor Strange. I was on a Silver Surfer stint for a while when I was a kid, and then after that it was all Spider-Man and stuff like that. But you know, it's funny because I do remember there was that time when I thought Doctor Strange was just the coolest character. This is a horrible mustache. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there. Trying to use all the undos here. Apparently, they don't work real well when you do tiny little brush strokes like that. Tell you, that's one of the neat things about Clip Studio is it takes that into account when you do all those tiny little brush marks. It groups them together. So that's really nice when you make a mistake in that kind of way. It'll you can back out of those pretty well. After Max saying, who's your internet provider and do you know your upload and download speeds? Yeah, that's pretty private. It's a personal question, so I don't feel comfortable answering that on a live stream. Just kidding. I don't know what the internet speeds are. I know you got a speed test. I can go check that out. Are you guys getting lag? Is that where you're saying that? Oh, and thanks, Mark. Mark's making a nice comment about watching the channel, and you know, as far as you getting to the same level, it's just a matter of time, man. So just keep at it. I draw a lot, you know, and I still got a long ways to go, you know. So we're all in this journey together, kind of thing, and just keep at it, and just dedicate a lot of time each day. Look for inspiration, things like that, and you'll get to where you want to be. If you truly are passionate about it, which I would assume if you're here watching this and you're pretty excited about it, then you just keep at it. So I appreciate you leaving the nice comment, though. I always tell people it's the passion that fuels us, that drives us, not the talent. The talent's a byproduct of the passion. At least that's how I see it, because I just know how bad my drawings used to be, and I still see flaws in them. So to me, it's like, you know, you just keep going and you just keep progressing, but that passion continually drives you to, you know, see your own flaws in your work, analyze it, become better. You know, just be fearful of the day when you don't see your flaws or something like that, you know, or when you're no longer passionate about creating this stuff. That's the only thing to worry about. And I had a moment, a stint in my my creative career where I wasn't creating as much and I wasn't driven to create as much, and that luckily I snapped out of it and got back to what I was doing. But it was easy to kind of fall off and and not create nearly as much, and that's a scary thing. Because the only way, these guys that we look up to and we see their work and it's just amazing, the only reason they got there is because they stayed on it. They didn't fall off the bandwagon, so to speak, and they continually dedicated long hours and nights and got better at their craft. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing all that collective effort into one piece, one creation, and you don't see the time spent before that. So you just got to remember that nobody just starts off great in art. I mean, people start off definitely good and better than their peers and students and things like that, but they don't start off amazing. You've never seen like a I don't know, 5-year-old's colored pencil drawing and be like, or Crayola drawing and be like, my God, that's the next adventure. I mean, you might say that about your kid or something, or niece or nephew or something, but it takes years to really learn all the things that go into doing just amazing works of art. I think, anyways, that's just my perception on it. Okay, that's probably enough on that face there. Throw in some quick line weight. That's a good one. Obsession is a good substitute for talent. Steve Martin. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Did you ever start out with traditional comics? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I started out traditionally years ago. My first comic was Ariel and Assault, published by Time Comics, Time Press. My publisher was Lou Faba, and yeah, so those books came out. Those were picked up by Diamond Distribution. They went national, which I thought was a big deal. It wasn't as big as I thought back then, but I thought it was, and that was all done traditionally. I penciled and inked those. Lou did the storyline and the printing, and Diamond did the distribution, all that. But that was all traditional, pen and ink, 11 by 17 Bristol board. And I still do some traditional. I just sent out a fan art piece this week, actually. And so I don't do as much of it as I'd like to, but I do still do it. I try to draw as often as I can on paper, but I do spend 99% of my time drawing digitally now. So just the way it is. It's the way I make my living, so I have to do it quickly. It's the way I share with you guys, so it makes sense in that regard, without setting up like an overhead cam, and which I've never been able to really find the right setup for that. I don't know if people are like making their own rigs. I'm assuming they are, because I have a tough time finding like this, right setup for that, because I would like to do some traditional drawing on my my art table, but this just is so much easier to just plug into the digital device that I'm using and share that with you guys. So oh, thanks for sharing that, Mac. Give me the upload and download speeds. Nice. Appreciate that. So that would be your upload and download speeds, right? You couldn't see mine, right? That's why you're asking me what I use. Anyways. Yeah, I'll have to research that a little bit better, bud, and see what I come up with there. Not entirely sure, to tell you the truth. But I think everybody else is getting a decent stream right now. I thought. I've seen a couple of the comments. Yeah, so while I got you guys here, let me know what you think some good good stream topics will be, and also, video topics, any of that stuff, what you'd like to see. And just to give you an update, I'm working on new course content. I'm doing a part 2 to the How to Improve Your Figure Drawing, and it's characters in action. I'm also going to do one where I show how to draw heads from any angle. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here a little bit, but it's going to be more in depth. So just to give you guys a fair warning, because I'll be promoting that stuff here and there, so you guys will have to listen to me say that jazz. Gotta do it. Trying to make this a full-time gig where I just do this stuff. So if you guys ever wonder, like, why I spout off at the mouth so much about, doing this, promoting that, I'm really trying to make this side of what I do take over the other illustration stuff that I do, because I don't know, I just enjoy this more, and it's one of those things where I feel like there's a need for it. I feel like people resonate, and you guys get something out of it. But I got to get views up, I got to get course content sold, all that stuff to make it facilitate what I do here. So that's just so you know. I hope I don't ever over promote myself or whatever, but that's kind of the need or whatever, the reason. Oh, thanks, Christo. I appreciate that. Stream topic: art school and art university. Now, when you say that, like, what art school and what art university to go with? Is that what you're getting at? Elaborate on that a bit more. And then Mario say, if I buy your comic, can I save it in a flash drive? Yeah. So if you go to my Gumroad, you can get my comic as a downloadable PDF. I always ask that nobody repost it somewhere or whatever, but I don't, I shouldn't have to say it, but I always feel like I need to. I guess I'm a little old school that way. I'm so used to selling a comic book. But yeah, you can save it on a flash drive, put it on different systems, whatever you need to do. So the topic of art school and art universities are talked about a lot. Okay. Yeah, see, the only bad thing, I'll think of a way that I can approach that a little bit, but I guess I'm bad in that regard, because I'm not the right person to delve into that topic, because I'm primarily self-taught. I mean, and by that I do mean that I've read a lot of books, I've studied a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube, things like that. But I never went to art school in a university or anything like that. I had a tough time finishing high school, or actually I didn't. I went back and got a GED. So I'm not the traditional school guy, or in that regard. I value education tremendously. I teach education now, but I didn't take the fundamental approach and the traditional approach, only because of more the way my life was set up. It wasn't. I valued school. I just didn't have the right opportunities, I guess, in a lot of ways. But now I feel like school is so much online and digital content and video content that I really feel that that's really the best way to consume it, especially for art. I think that's why stuff like this does so well. You guys are able to see what I'm doing and learn through doing, in a sense, and you can work along with me. You can draw on the side. You can just watch and see what decisions I make. So video, which you can do all that in a classroom as well, but I'm able to share this so much quicker and with a larger audience, obviously online, that it just makes a lot more sense. So I'm just a big proponent of online and video education. I just really feel like it's pretty much revolutionizing the education sector. And like I said, I can't really give my ideas on what colleges you should take. I would definitely recommend it if that's something that's afforded to you. I would definitely say jump wholeheartedly on that, because one of the things that you're going to get with schooling in a college experience is the interactivity with other people, the social skills, and that are so important to being successful in life in a lot of professions. So that's probably the biggest for me. And and obviously, if it's a really amazing school, like I remember back in the day when I was a younger dude, everybody was talking about Ringley, and that was like the school to go to, and conceptual art and designers and things like that. It just never really factored into the way that I was doing things and where I was at. I was like one of those guys where as soon as I was old enough to work, I was working, so that was even my thought process with art. I got into a place and immediately started doing signs and graphics on cars because I could start like right now, and with what I had already self-ascertained, and then kind of progress myself from there. All right, and then 70% of being an artist is hard work and 30% is promote. Yeah, definitely so. It's these days really is too, because you have to self-promote and share your work, create a really strong portfolio, self-evaluate, get feedback from artists that are better than yourself, and continually improve that portfolio and share it in social media and different things, and get it out there. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot of promotion that goes into that. And then also, if I want to get in like video game concept art, should I focus myself in a comic book or painting, or should I do a bit of everything? We're all very different in what we create and what we excel at. So I think that part of your answer is you looking in the mirror or whatever, and going, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, and then as far as you saying, well, I really want to be a game artist, for instance, if that's true in your heart and near and dear to what you want to be, then you got to go for that, and you'll have to maybe overcome certain hurdles. If you look in the game industry artists and you see that their work is just immensely better, for instance, right? And you shouldn't focus too much on this, but I want to just make a point. Like, if you see that their work is immensely better, then you have to come to the realization that you're going to have to compensate with something, and that means either hard work and overcoming some barriers there. Maybe you learn to produce more content, or maybe you learn to work in a certain aspect of game design that isn't what you particularly thought you were going to do. Like, you want to be this lead artist and you end up being a background guy, for instance. I've heard that happen. So you got to make that realization about yourself. Now, I'm not saying to give up and to just say, oh, this guy's better, I can't do it. I'm definitely not saying that, because sometimes when you're creating and you're learning, these mental barriers will open up and you'll all of a sudden get better. It just happens. So yeah, I don't know that about you, and you'll have to make that distinction on your own if you can do that or not. And then past that, sometimes it's okay to just look at other avenues. I wanted so bad to draw comics, and I just basically said, I don't know when I'm going to get into the industry, if I'm ever going to get in, so I got to work right now, and I started doing other things. That's a little bit of a compromise, so, I'm not necessarily saying do what I did and compromise, but I'm still trying, still going to go for it, and I guess my biggest and best way to accommodate that was to create my own comic book. So it was like, you know what, I'm not going to wait to have somebody tell me, hey, I get to draw Spider-Man for Marvel. I'm going to draw Blackstone, and I'm going to make a book every other year or something. Or, it takes me a while to get these things out because I got to live life and do all the other stuff. But that was my way to say, you know what, I'm still going to be a comic book illustrator. I'm not going to wait for somebody to open up the proverbial door for me and say that I'm in. I'm going to let myself in. And I would say to do that same thing. Just learn by doing, and then constantly strengthen your portfolio. Study what the other guys are doing so that you can become better and learn from them. And eventually you'll get good enough, and you'll know, because people just start, raving about your work, and they'll tell you that you're amazing, and and then you just have to start getting your work in front of the people that make the decisions of that industry, if that's where you want to be. And also remember that being cordial and just working well with others, because a lot of times you'll make a connection, and sometimes it'll be the person that can get you in that place. So you got to be aware of that as well. To always carry good relationships, because you might bump into somebody that can give you that way in or whatever. A lot of times whenever you get into industries, it's who you know. So, all right. So sorry for that long-winded explanation there. So if you see there, I'm flipping the canvas and trying to spot the flaws in this head. I could tell it was off, and I always have a problem with symmetry. So this is another thing that I'll do too, even though it's kind of cheating, but I'll go copy this, paste. Just want to spot my my symmetry problem here. I think I like the other side, this side better. So let me go. What is it? Swipe down, 3 fingers, cut, paste. And, whoop, get back up there. Copy, paste, and then I'll flip it. So this is kind of a neat way to kind of see where you're off a little bit. And then sometimes I'll just go ahead and cheat, and I'll just put this one over here and call it done. Now I know my symmetry is good. I know you guys are probably all thinking, man, what a cheater. Can't believe he just did that. Merge that down, move it over. But then, you know, I'm using it more as an exercise so I can look at it next to this one and kind of see how bad my symmetry drawing was. Alright, let's see what you guys are writing here just so I don't miss a whole lot. Lots of new artists, I think, just need mentors, myself included. Just watching YouTube videos has taken me pretty far, though. Yeah, thanks very much. I'm very happy to hear that. And you're very right. Like, we all need mentors in anything, and art's definitely a huge way to get better is to not only study other people that you admire, and that's where I think video is so nice because it lets you intermingle with them. Online video lets you intermingle with them so much more easily. But then also real-life mentors is a big part. So if you can get in with schools and find those mentors, that's fantastic. Let's see. I know that you have done dynamic poses. It would be fun to see how you draw extreme dynamic poses, for example. Some of the Spider-Man poses for that type of extreme poses. Yeah, and just so you know, I don't mean to plug this again, but just so you're aware, I am working on a part 2 of the How to Improve Your Figure Drawing. And it is going to be a lot more of the dynamic poses. It's going to include fight scenes. It's going to include extreme foreshortening, just movement and reaction, characters interacting with objects like, you know, punching through brick walls and things like that. So there'll be a lot of that in the next course. I'll also do free content on the channel here, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that that will, you know, be in that next course if you're so interested or whatever. GS Ward says, check out Trent Canuja's YouTube page. He does a lot of concept work. Yep, I've seen Trent's work. Does amazing stuff. He's got a very neat animated painterly look. So yeah, check out Trent's work. He's phenomenal. I like to think that I can draw animals well. What type of job could I utilize this ability in? Says Comic Geek 2002. You know, people love animal portraits. I've seen that a lot. I've had people ask me to do them. You know, they actually pay. I've heard people making good money just doing animal portraits. So definitely keep that in mind if you do animals real well. I don't. My animals always tend to come out looking a little scary. So it's good for comics. And Dead Zombie says, I think learning how to learn is more important for beginners. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you can't fill a glass that's full, so you gotta always be. I think the best way to think about it is always realize that your stuff's not perfect, and you know you need to get better at it through repetition. And a big part of that is realizing that your stuff isn't perfect and where to find those errors. Like I was just showing you guys about checking my symmetry. I know I have a problem with symmetry, and this is one of the ways for me to study it and kind of analyze. Okay, so I'm basically stretching the eye this way. I also have a hard time getting the jawline accurately the same on both sides. So all those things is just, you know, you got to really, you know, fight to understand what mistakes you're making and why, and then over time get better and better and make less and less of those mistakes. Yeah, thanks DCS. I appreciate that plug there. Cooper is here. Nice. Thank you for your videos. YouTube really teaches me techniques and fundamentals. No other school I could afford to do. Yeah, and that's what's really neat, is that we are able to share this information on here and that people can get better through that process. It's fantastic. And I'm a YouTube junkie. Like I'll get off here and I'll start drawing on my book or whatever I got to do next. And I'll pop on some YouTube and I'll watch some other artists, and you know, I'm as big of a fan as that as I am of contributing. So it's really great. It's important. It's really revolutionized, learning, and I can only imagine what it's doing for people. I just wish I would have had YouTube and Google when I was in school. Man, I would have kicked butt. I would have aced every exam. I would have just Googled the answers. Yeah, it's funny, after Max saying that I'm a mentor. I appreciate that. It's amazing for you to say that. And then K. Michael Russell's videos for coloring. And I just saw one of his. I wasn't aware of him until just recently. Well, a little while ago, but I just saw another video he did talking actually about the Mobile Studio Pro. So you guys can head over and check that one out. So he does a review on that product. But yeah, he's got some really nice color work. So if you're looking to get better at coloring, that's a great channel for it. All right, so I'm gonna bring this one to a close. If there's any last closing questions I can answer, I'll do that. I probably should have gave this girl some hair and not so big of a chin, but whatever. These are just sketches. So, but this is essentially how I practice these faces, and I know faces aren't really my strong suit, but that's why I continually try to get better at them. And you do a little gap in the mouth right there, little opening. Give her a little skinny neck. Whoa. Something like that. That's too skinny, isn't it? All right, so any last questions? Let me see here. Do you talk to other YouTube artists, and would you like to collaborate? Yeah, I've done a few collaborations. I haven't done one in a while. I need to. I've been waiting to get done with this project I'm on, and then I plan on actually approaching a couple channels to collaborate. But yeah, I need to, because it's one of the best ways to really grow your channel and your audience. I did one with Draw with Jazz a ways back, and it was really nice of him because his channel's a lot larger than mine, so he was basically just kind of throwing me a bone kind of thing. And it did work. I got a lot of subscribers off that and saw a little bit of growth from that. So you need to probably continually do it to always expand your channel and your reach. No, you don't have to request permission to showcase software, especially in tutorials. Whenever you're doing a tutorial, you can pretty much do anything that you want because you're under the guise of teaching. You can always teach. There's like Freedom of Rights Act. I don't know. I can't get into all that, but it's essentially you can teach whatever you want, almost indefinitely, because it's you're teaching, you're sharing information. It outweighs other things like people saying, well, that's our copyright and that's our money-making device or whatever. And do your due diligence, research that. But that was kind of the way it was explained to me. And I found other researched information and kind of backed it up. But make sure you do your digging. Don't take my word for it, kind of thing. And no worries, JS Ward. I'm happy to shout out for other people's channels, so that's not a bad thing at all. And Funky Portuguese Cat says, I knew about your channel from Jazza, so that's great. So it did work. That's why you're here. All right, so everybody, I appreciate you stopping by and watching this. Hopefully it's been informative and fun for you. There'll be more on the way real soon, so I appreciate that. Keep in mind that you can always follow my work and support what I do on my Gumroad, and I've got courses on Udemy and different things like that, and brushes on Gumroad for you to support the work that I do. You can support my work on Patreon. That's a monthly recurring thing, but you get access to art files and all that jazz. So, I thank everybody for being here. So more on the way real soon. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and I will talk to you later.